Yeah, a little fun little countdown and all right, welcome. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm actually at a team meeting, so I've got a bunch of members of my team here with me, and we're gonna just try something fun and new. I thought it would be fun, with all my coworkers in the room to try to explore something new and interesting. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna build a Spring application with I think we could do Java or Kotlin. Doesn't really matter. I like Kotlin, so maybe we'll do Kotlin. Kotlin. Sean says Kotlin. And then we're gonna have our AI deploy that up onto AWS. So that's kind of the goal. I just wanted to explore like how this all comes together with using an agent. And so I'm logged into my AWS account, and we have this new banner up at the top of the console that's like, this is how, and Sean did this. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for adding that banner. So we gives us some instructions for how we can add the AWS Agent Toolkit into our agent. And that's where we're going to start, is because we're going to be building something with AWS. And so adding this Agent Toolkit is going to really help when we get to the part of actually deploying this thing. And so what we can do is click on this Get Setup prompt, and all I have to do is copy that. And then here, let's go into IntelliJ. I use IntelliJ for all my work. I'm going to create a new project, and we'll do something with that prompt in just a second. But this is going to be the good old to-do app. Everybody's familiar with the fun little to-do use case. And then I get to have some, I'm in a Spring Boot app, and I'm going to pick Kotlin as the language. I like Gradle and Kotlin for my build tool, but you have options there. So, okay, so let's create that. And then I need to add some dependencies. You can also do this through a website called start.spring.io is the other way to spin up your Spring application. I'm just going to start with Spring Web here, and we'll add some more stuff later. Okay, so I'm in IntelliJ, and I'm going to be using my agent. There's a few different ways that we can use our agent. One that I like to do is just go into my terminal here, and I'm going to run Curo CLI. And so we could do Cloud Code, we could do whatever, lots of different options here. But I'm going to use my Curo CLI. And so great. So now I'm in Curo. And now I'm going to take that prompt that I just got from the console, and I'm going to pop that into my agent. And so the setup instructions are just giving the agent all the steps that it needs to do. And Curo is going to ask me, do I trust certain things like web fetch? And so I'll have to, tell it, yep, I trust those things as it goes through. But what this is doing is installing some skills. It's installing an MCP server for AWS, and just making sure my environment is kind of ready to go with everything that it needs for being able to have some knowledge about how to talk to AWS, and then actually be able to run things on my behalf against AWS. So we'll keep going through here. Yep, I will let you use curl. And anybody should be able to do this in their agent and be able to get kind of their AWS ready agent. So have you all tried this? Yeah?
Yes, I have.
Yeah? And how to work?
It worked well. I mean, you gave me the updated configuration for the MCP server, so it doesn't require authentication. I don't know if it's working out of the box now, but
yeah. And the nice thing about this setup script is that it makes some choices for you on how it sets things up. There's some manual ways to set things up, or you can use particular agents if they have the plugin marketplaces, and you can add everything through the plugin marketplace as well. So there's a few different ways to set everything up, but this just kind of makes it do the easiest way possible. And in this case, it actually sets up the AWS CLI, and when it's going to run my stuff against AWS, it's going to use the CLI. So I don't think that it actually, in this case, authenticates the MCP server, but that is another way that you could go. Okay, so it looks like that all completed. and we have, it gave me some information about being all set up. We can just give this thing a quick test. I can say list my S3 buckets. And when I do that, it should know how to run these commands against AWS. And so it's going to have this, use the use AWS tool there. And cool. So looks like we've got dial tone. I'm able to talk to AWS. So that's good. That's kind of our first step. The next step I want to do is start having this thing actually build an application. So I'm going to say use Spring JDBC and a local H2 database. But in prod, we will use Aurora, if I can spell it. It doesn't even matter if I spell it right. It's the great thing about AI. Serverless V2. We will deploy on Beanstalk. I did this earlier and it told me some options, and Beanstalk for this particular application seemed like a good idea. So just gonna go with that for now. And let's see, what else do we need to tell it? The application will be a basic to-do list and backed by the database, and we will use Spring AI to expose this as an MCP server. Is that enough requirements? We'll see what it comes up with, huh?
There's no front end, or there is?
I'll do the front end later. Like I can, but I wanted to do the MCP server first, just to it's pretty simple way to actually test this thing out. Okay, so let's give this thing a try and see what it comes up with those very minimal requirements there. But it's going to write the code for me. Ideally, what I want in this case is to be able to run the application locally, so I can test it locally. So that H2 database it's not my preferred way to do things. It's just the most direct path to getting a local database. Most of the time, what I do is I use Postgres locally, and then use something called test containers, and then I start up the test container for Postgres and have it use that database for local development. And then obviously when we go to production, it's just should be ideally the same database, but H2 is just a kind of easy path to get there. So, the AI should be just using its general knowledge and web search, kind of figuring out okay, what are the dependencies that we need to add? It should know how to write the code for all this kind of stuff. It may need to look up some things. Spring AI is pretty new, and so it's probably going to have to do some searching to figure out some Spring AI stuff. But yeah, it's going to just chug through here for a few minutes and get our MCP server, and then later, once we get the MCP server all set up, then we'll have the agent build a little web UI for us as well. And so I chose Java or Kotlin in this case, and Spring, just because that's what I'm most familiar with and what I like to use a lot of the time. And so, but lots of people could do the same experience with TypeScript or with Python or with whatever. So obviously we have lots of different options for how we do these things, but you'll see it's the agent's chugging along. Little database-driven application is where we're going. What's your all's favorite simple thing to have the AI build? To-do list is kind of dated and boring. I need a new one.
You need your new Hello World.
A new Hello World, yeah.
The AI Hello World. Maybe it is Hello World that's AI powered.
Right? Yeah.
Animated and more features. For me, the number one thing, it's not necessarily an application thing, but I love when it can write documentation, markdown tables, where I remember cavemen, we were aligning and it had formatters. You can just put all these things in the table. It might be commands to start your app or something. It's AI can just do it in 10 seconds.
Yeah. So
I think it's the mundane things for me.
Yeah.
That are the most ideal.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's the risk of letting AI generate all this code, and you're what did it do?
Yeah. What did it do?
Not knowing what it does.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, and a lot of how I work now when I'm using AI to build things is I've got my agent window open, and sometimes I need to go tell it to reload the files on the disk. But I'm essentially in this not structured view. There's a view in IntelliJ, which is the commit. Is it the commit view? No, not commit. there is a diff viewer somewhere in here. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, not commit, not that one. Show me that. Usually I'm on a different machine and I don't know why I can't see in IntelliJ, there's a diff viewer. It should be in. No.
This is not a Git repo yet.
Oh, that's that. Thanks, Sean. See, this is why we pair program this stuff. It's not going to show me any differences until I actually have a Git repo. Yeah. So a lot of usually when I'm working on something real, I've got a Git repo. And then we go to commit. There we go. Now we see it. And now this is where I watch, like, as the agent's working, I'm like looking at the diffs essentially.
Oh, yeah.
And because we're in a new project, like every diff is, just, fresh new file, but we could start looking through and, there's build files and all that, but we can start looking at the actual application. It has my, my Spring Boot application. It's got this like stub.tests, right? There's not a whole lot in here interesting yet. And so usually I just like monitor that, like see what my agent's doing. Oh, it needs permission to write files. That's why we're not seeing a whole lot yet there. I think all those files.
Away for lunch and you're like, oh, my agent was working on it, and you come back and it's like you forgot.
There is like the YOLO mode, right? That I could have enabled, which what's it called? What? Trust all. Yeah. Yeah. So we could have run this in trust all mode, and I don't know if that's conveying necessarily the best practices, but you can do that. Okay, so we do like have our data model. Here's our to-do list. So we've got our data class to do, ID, title, completed, created out. Exciting.
In Java, we call them POJOs. What do they call in Kotlin?
Data class. Yep. Yeah. So
Code.
yeah. Kojos. Kojos. We've got our to-do repository. So what's
Plain old Java object, so it will be plain old
Kotlin object? There you go. Pocos. They're very small. Okay, we've got our to-do repository, so it's set up our database access. We've got our to-do service, which is just giving us, our wrapper around that. And obviously, it's making some architectural decisions here. But here's our MCP server. So we've got a @tool annotation, which is list all the to-dos, right? You'll see that returns a list of to-do. Is that font big enough? Should I make that bigger?
One or two more.
Okay.
I have the stream open.
Oh, is the stream working? I guess that's good to like be monitoring the stream, make sure the stream's working. Okay, but you can see it defined my MCP server tools here for the whole domain model. So that all looks good to me. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. What's happening? Looks like it's writing some tests, right? Ship it. That's where we're going next, is to actually like try to ship this thing. But yeah, I mean, I think the code that I wrote looks fine to me. It looks like good Kotlin code. It looks like good Spring code. It's doing all the things I would expect. We've got this MCP configuration here. Let's see what it did in here. Oh, it's set up. I don't know why it set that up, but hey, we'll just trust it and see what it's going to do with that. But hey, we got it's even writing some tests for me. So glad that it's like making some wise decisions out of the box here. So it set up a proc file. Sometimes I wonder how much of this comes from my like things I've done in the past in Kiro, some long-term memory in Kiro. It's like, oh, you usually create a proc file and write tests. Like, is that coming from actions I've done? Yeah, Heroku is proc file. I don't know if Beanstalk, right? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
You forgot make no mistakes. So like that.
You are a senior engineer. So, okay, it's now running the tests and the build, it looks like, and it looks like it's getting close on actually having our little application here working. In Kiro, you can see the tasks that it has. So I can hit Control X and see, it's come up with its list of things that it wants to do, and it's going to just be working through those. So it hasn't created like the schema file yet. Looks like it did some of these other tests, but it hasn't checked them off yet. Maybe it's waiting until it runs the test or something to verify that those are complete. So yeah, we'll let that thing chug along there and
built into Kotlin.
So the way that in the world of Kotlin and Spring is that we do that through some dependencies. And so we add in here, I saw the AI add it, which was down here, there's the Kotlin test JUnit, and then Spring Boot has some testing stuff that you add in. So you add those into, and then there's Mockito, so it can mock stuff, and then the JUnit platform launcher. So that's just your like standard way in your build tool, in this case, Gradle, to like set up the actual testing infrastructure. And then there's probably a little bit of, here we go. Here's where it actually configures Gradle to be able to use JUnit to run the tests. And yeah, I think that all looks pretty standard to me. So let's see if it actually got through. Looks like it. Cool. Looks like it was able to validate the MCP server, and looks like everything's looking pretty good. It added, actually tested it, like it's actually running like an integration test, making sure that the MCP server works as expected. So everything's looking good so far on that. Yeah, nice. Health config. Don't know what that's for. Let's look at the schema. Got our table, exciting. Let's see if there's anything else that it's added in here. Some tests. Oh, looks good. And obviously my screen resolution is kind of smaller than I usually work at, so there's a bit of scrolling around here. Okay, so now it says it did its thing. Build was successful, tests ran. Do you want me to add authentication? No, I don't want to add authentication. We're gonna we can secure this later, but what I want to do is run this application locally and just see if my MCP server actually works. So I can start up the server, and then over in my terminal, what I'm going to do is there's the MCP. Oh no, what is it should have been in my history, but there's the MCP inspector. And this is a good way just to like kind of establish that your MCP server is working as you expect it to. And so I'm going to run the MCP inspector. And when this thing launches, I get a web interface. And now I can go in and say, all right, I'm going to connect to a streamable HTTP server. And we're going to give it localhost 8080/MCP and hit connect. And so now, great, it's connected. Now I can go to my tools, and I can go list my tools, and I can see that there's let's go like, should be like a create to do, add to do, there we go. So I can now this is no AI agent yet, but I can go in and add a tool, run it, and see that, hey, added it. Let's go now and list my to-dos, and great, that returned the response we expected. So cool, so we've kind of got our MCP server for our to-do system all created, running locally. I do want to also test it outside of the MCP inspector. I want to actually test it within Kuro CLI. And so to do that, what we can do is say Kuro CLI MCP add -- name, and I'm going to call this my to-do -local, and then -- URL http://localhost 8080/MCP. And when we add that, what it actually does in this case, I didn't tell it to be global, so it created this .kuro settings mcp.json, and there we see our MCP config for connecting to the MCP server that I'm currently running locally. So now over in Kuro, I think it now auto reloads the MCP configuration. So if I do /MCP, let's see. No, it didn't reload. There's some way to reload. Anybody know? I thought we added some reload, but I'll just restart.
I think we added a command to reload.
What is it?
I think we added one.
I think it's only in V3 though, and it's disabled, so don't use it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Coming soon.
It's coming soon. Coming soon. Okay, let's try it. Let's try it again. MCP. Yay. Okay, so we got my to-do local, and it's running. It has 6 tools. Great. So let's say add a to-do to write the code. Okay, so when we do that, then it's going to ask me, do I trust the add to do tool? I built it, so of course I do. Okay, so it looks like that added it. I can now say list my to-dos. So great. So we've got a functioning MCP server running locally, and that all looks good. Let's just verify. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So great. This is the one I added through MCP Inspector, and then my new one. Okay. So next task, this all looks good locally. Let's see if we can deploy this thing up on AWS. So I'm going to say deploy on AWS, use Beanstalk, and I canceled out of that earlier session, so I don't know if it's going to remember my AWS decisions I told it about earlier. Aurora serverless v2. Anything else I need to tell it? What's that?
Where's it saving the data now?
In a local in-memory database. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna ask what H2 was. I thought it was like SQLite, but it's just all in memory.
It's just an in-memory database that tries to emulate the database protocols. It's not my favorite choice for how I do this locally. I think, as I was saying before, like usually what I do is test containers, Docker or Finch container to like run Postgres, so that then I can match the versions of my local database with my production database. That's the ideal, but I've taken some shortcuts from what I normally do. So we'll see. So it's going to it's saying, all right, well, I told it earlier to use Elastic Beanstalk and Aurora, so it's like, I already set up some things, and now it's going to start calling AWS. I'm taking the like direct path to like as direct as possible to get this thing deployed. It probably will start writing some CDK or CloudFormation or something for me. But I could prompt it differently. I could say like just deploy this thing. Like I don't, you provision all the resources, like run the commands, whatever. But I think it's coming from the agent toolkit, the AWS agent toolkit, that it's giving some guidance on like, hey, we probably should set up IAC if we're going to do a deployment. So there's some kind of best practices that come along with that. And so we'll see how it does, but I think that it should write our IAC in some form. And obviously, if we have preferences, we could give those preferences to it. But let's see if it's written anything yet. I don't see any infrastructure. What is it?
I was using the CLI for a second, but I can see it actually roll up the same.
So I think it's still kind of getting some things set up. Let's see what it said here. Yeah, it's like, okay, you're going to use some resources. We're going to run in US East 1. We do need to create a jar file that's going to get deployed on Beanstalk. It does need to set up like how it's going to map the credentials for the database to our application. So I think it's got a good plan. What's that?
It's like writing Python.
It's interesting because it does do things differently for different things. Like sometimes it like runs the command, and then the AWS MCP server can accept a Python script that it can then run. And so sometimes it chooses to do that as well. So obviously, like, some knowledge to guide it in a particular direction is helpful. But I think I just wanted to see like what are the defaults it's going to choose without any real guidance on things. So initially, so I loaded it when I went to here in the console. Oh. It should have it should have the skills and the MCP server there, and those should stay persistent across reloads. So yeah, I wonder what skills I have available. Are those under? Okay, so these are all the skills, right? That are tons of different skills that I could manually load in.
And there's more.
Oh, and there's even more. Oh, I accidentally hit escape. Continue. Don't hit escape. I think I was supposed to not hit escape there. But hey, we can just tell the agent to resume.
It depends on like what the operational living that Jim was saying. Like it should. I mean, the skill files are like carefully crafted to hopefully steer the model, but then it's also model dependent. Like Opus might do something different than GPT. Like it's like, oh, I will only follow these instructions, and like like maybe there's a word that needs to be capitalized in the skill file or something. Like never write scripts, just always use like the API or CLI or whatever. Because it does feel a little clunky, like if you're trying to do something to write a little code, like a 3-line snippet, but it's like that was one CLI call or one API call or something.
So interestingly, it did not, there's a skill in the toolkit that gives it some guidance on how to do deployments, which tells it to like write the IAC, and it didn't load that skill this time. And so it's actually like just manually like running commands to do the deployment. It's vibe deploying, vibe deploy. So I'll have to investigate why it didn't load that. But that skill is the one that gives it that guidance. No, there's another one. I don't know why it's not in my list. It's called the onboard with AWS skill. I don't see it. I don't know why. Something to investigate. But last time I tried this, it did pick up the onboard with AWS skill, and then was, I think, making some better decisions. But maybe I need to do something manually to.
I don't have the one that I have that is relevant, I guess, is CloudFormation, but you would never want to write raw CloudFormation. So
I mean, the skill is useful for the agent to know how to write CloudFormation. Like if the agent's going to write CloudFormation, it should use the CloudFormation skill. But the one that's missing for some reason is the onboard with AWS skill. That's the one that kind of gives it a lot of guidance around doing deployments. And so because for some reason that skill didn't get loaded, it doesn't have maybe the best knowledge, and so I'll have to figure out, or maybe somebody can figure out like why didn't that onboard with AWS thing get loaded, and how do I load it manually? Because I don't even see it in the list here.
I'm looking at the repo right now. Maybe they renamed it, changed it recently, like 2 weeks ago. There's now one called AWS deployment. So I don't know if things got refactored or something.
I just tried this morning, and it used that onboard one. Search for the onboard with AWS.
I'm looking at the AWS Agent Toolkit GitHub repo. So
okay,
maybe things have changed in the past couple of weeks. But if you did this morning, maybe it was like cache skill too. Possibly. Maybe,
yeah.
But it's a live demo.
Exactly, right? Yeah, no better way to learn than just try it. Yeah, and so it looks like it's actually just done the deployment. It's spinning up my environment here for my to-do Spring prod app on Beanstalk, and that takes a few minutes to like create the database and create the instance and connect all that stuff and get it all up and running. Of course, if we want to, we can go in and explore through the console what it's doing. But for me, most of my interaction now with AWS is just through my agent. Like if I want to, know the status of something, I just ask my agent, and it has access to AWS, so it can go off and do that thing. Because it's currently running something, I could open up another session. Let's actually go do that. Let's go start another Kiro CLI session, and I can say like list my Elastic Beanstalk apps. Does Kiro have a voice input mode yet? I should set up something on my Mac at the very least, so I don't have to like type and say the same thing. It always I'm saying it verbally. I should just dictate what Does anybody do that? Like if they're giving a demo of their agent, do you have any kind of dictation to just auto input your?
If you hit the microphone button on your dictation, does that work?
I don't know. I mean, and maybe it's weird if I'm on a live stream because the live stream is already taking my audio. I don't know.
That's like the thing, and this is what always breaks me. Like computers can use the device with more than one application. Phones cannot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to dictate, but it's not working.
One of my friends, Kit, created a Mac app that does the like dictation input. I need to install it and try it, but that'll be a project for another day. I forget what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But so it looks like it's still, setting things up. The database takes a couple minutes to set up, but you can see how I can come in here and say like, what is the status of the to-do Spring app? So for me, I don't use the CLI directly. I don't use the console directly. like my entire interface to AWS is in my agent, and so far it's been a great way for me to to just tell my agent what to do. There's a funny clip from Seinfeld. Anybody watch Seinfeld?
Yeah.
So there's this funny clip where Kramer is pretending to be Movie Phone, and some of you may not remember Movie Phone, but it was the service, like before the internet, that if you wanted to know what movies were playing, you would call Movie Phone, and you would like type in like the letters of the movie, and it would then tell you the show times and all that kind of stuff. It was, this is all like feels like in the Stone Age. But so there's this clip in Seinfeld where Kramer, for some reason, gets George to call him thinking that Kramer is Movie Phone. And so Kramer's like, welcome to Movie Phone. And trying to be like Movie Phone. He's like, please enter the first 3 letters of the movie you would like to see. And so George types the letters in his phone using the 9-key, pad. And of course, Kramer has no idea what letters he's just pressed. So he's like, would you like to see, and just comes up with some random movie. If that is your selection, press 1. If not, press 2. And so then Kramer, George then enters the next, the title of the movie again, and Kramer still doesn't know what movie he's talking about. And so then Kramer says, just tell me the name of the movie you want to see. And it's such a good metaphor for like how now I interact with agents is like the Kramer is my agent. He's like in front of this database of information and just takes my natural language and just, I don't have to type in, I don't have to click on web forms, I don't have to do any of that. I just tell it what I want. And so that's a fun clip that captures this moment in technology in a fun way. So, okay, looks like it's still, it's sitting there waiting on a prompt for me, but it's working. Oh, and this happened to me last time too. I think that the port that my process needs to listen on is port 5000 on Beanstalk. And I didn't load any Beanstalk specific skill. Maybe there's not even a Beanstalk skill. I'm not sure. But it didn't know that ahead of time. But it figured it out. It's like, oh, the Nginx proxy can't connect to your server, so it's probably that it's listening on the wrong port. And so it figures that out, and then it'll go correct it and redeploy. So obviously, with some guidance or a skill up front, it would avoid mistakes like that. But the nice thing is it'll figure it out. These agents are like water; they'll find a way, right? They'll even find a way to root on your machine if it needs to do that. So it'll just keep on chugging through here, and I'll keep telling it, yep, I'm good. One of the nice things here is that it has access to the logs, obviously, and so when it runs into something it doesn't understand, it's going to go query the logs for me. I don't ever have to tell it to go look at the logs. I just say, this is the problem that I'm having, and it'll then go do the diagnostic triage and figure out what's wrong, and yeah, so now it's going to fix the port issue and then should just redeploy for me, and then it'll take a couple minutes to redeploy that. But okay, so we've got our app, it's getting deployed, and obviously I intentionally gave it very little guidance. With kind of better prompts, I could have, I'm sure, gotten to a working solution faster, but just wanted to see with very minimal input, what it would do. So yeah, so what about you all? Like I'm deploying this on Beanstalk. We've got some different options. I directed it to Beanstalk. Earlier when I was trying this, I didn't direct it to Beanstalk. I just let it list the options. And one of the nice things that the MCP and skills did for me was it actually did a cost comparison. It's like, okay, you can run it on Beanstalk, it's going to cost this. You can run it on, was the App Runner said it was an option, and it gave me the price estimate for that. And so I do like that in the skills and MCP, it integrates that price information in, because as I'm making infrastructure decisions, there's price associated with that, cost associated with that. And so it's nice to just have that kind of integrated into the experience. But because I directed it to Beanstalk, we didn't see the price estimation. But I wonder if we can actually ask it, how much per month will my setup cost with the DB and Beanstalk app. So I think that it should call the MCP or CLI, yeah. It'll call something to do price estimation. So AWS run scripts, so that's the MCP. So trust that one. And it, gives it some information about what my infrastructure is using. I think that I have a VPC. I'm guessing that it set up a VPC to connect the Beanstalk app to the database. And so we'll see if that's in there. It may not have, but we'll see here. So we'll get our cost estimate back here in a second. Let's check back in on how it's doing with the new deployment. Okay, health checks. All right, still figuring it out. There we go. Okay, so there's our price estimate. Total of $65 a month for this particular setup. Interestingly, the Aurora Serverless V2, it's using 0.5 ACU, and so that's $44 a month. But I think I could have told it to scale Aurora Serverless V2 down to 0, like that it will scale down to 0 if it's not being used. Yeah, is that how that works?
It's always running or something. Is that-
It's like, yeah, it has like half an instance always running. So I was lots of different options for database stuff. Like if I'd gone with Dynamo, that probably would be less because there's not actual provisioned capacity to that kind of setup. But lots of different options and
Ask it for a cheaper option.
yeah. Let's see what it says. My main capacity. So what if I say, can we set the Aurora min capacity to 0? Okay. Meanwhile, while it's answering that, it did finish getting everything up and running. It's all healthy. So now I do want to actually go get the URL to my app, which somewhere was this one. Wait, no, not that. There was a URL in here somewhere. This one. Okay, so now what I should be able to do is go into my Curo MCP config and, oh, I already had it open. Let's go replace. Actually, what I'm going to do is say disabled true, and then I'm going to add another one. I need some more vertical real estate here. So my to-do URL and /MCP. Okay, so now this is my production MCP. Oh, and I need HTTP on that. I didn't set up SSL or anything for that yet, I don't think. So, okay, so let's go. I've saved that. I'm going to first go look at what it said about setting min capacity. Oh, it just did it for me. It's like, cool. Yep, min capacity 0, enables auto pause. That all looks good. This removes the $44 a month idle floor, and when paused, my database is $0. Cool. So, oh, I still pay 10 cents a month for 1 gig of storage. So hopefully I don't have too many to-dos in my system. But now that is there, let's go reload our Curo CLI. And then if we look at our MCP servers, /MCP, oh, not NCP, MCP. So now we see that my to-do MCP server is running. So now it's connected to my MCP server running on Beanstalk. And so now I can say add a to-do to deploy the app. And that should, like before, call the MCP server, but this time save it into our database. And if all that looks good, added list my to-dos. Trust that. And then here's my to-dos. Oh, it actually, somewhere along the way, it actually was testing. So the agent was testing it, like the production app, and added a to-do for me. So the deployed via EB and Aurora not completed. It, as part of that test, it should have actually, gone back and completed the to-do for me. And that would, when we get AGI, then it would do that, right? But
You gotta go to the CLI and see it in the actual DB.
see what?
So now you go to the CLI and then actually do a query.
Query my my Aurora DB and get all the rows. I have no idea if that's going to work, but we're going to stick with use the agent to do all the things and see what it figures out here. So we're trying to like intentionally bypass. I don't want to go through my app. I just want to go directly to the database, and let's see if it can figure out how to get access to do a database query. That'll be interesting to see because there's credentials involved, I would guess, and I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll give it a try. Oh, I found two. It doesn't know which one is the right one because I did this all earlier. So now I've got two. But it should be able to figure out which one is the database that it just provisioned, right? And this would be a place where organizing this stuff with IAC into an actual CloudFormation stack has some benefit because then it should know locally, like here's the stack that I'm,
We're no longer by deploying at that point, right? We actually have some kind of history of what we've done.
That's yeah.
I looked it up. So it's the skill is called AWS CDK. So you could do / AWS CDK and see if you have it, see if it shows up.
There's a different one though.
Like more generic one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's called onboarding with AWS is the actual name of it. So I don't know why that.
So is there a script folder that it added all your
It didn't do any IAC. It just like Vibe ran commands for me.
Stuff is there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it would be best practice to have set up IAC, but because it didn't load that onboarding with AWS skill, or I don't know what happened to it, it made some decisions. I told it. I said just deploy the thing. I didn't say create some IAC and deploy the thing. I told it just deploy the thing. So it's listening. But when you have that skill, then the agent knows some best practices around deployment to AWS. So.
Or they could have watched Rob's infrastructure code beginner video on AWS Garage channel. Then they would have known. So please create IAC.
So interestingly, it's like I can't get access to that database. Oh wait, two questions. Which cluster do you want to be queried? This is to do Spring, right? This one. I think the other one is my one from before. And then okay to enable the data API on it. I don't know what the data API is, but one, it's that. And then two is yes. Let's see if it can figure out. It's got 4 minutes. So we'll see if in 4 minutes it can figure out how to enable the data API. Does anybody know what the data API is?
Aurora specific.
Something
maybe
Aurora,
some kind of
yeah.
accessor model.
Yeah.
Gives you a
Otherwise, I want to do some like crazy SSH things with the Bastion host.
Oh yeah, like set up a bastion that then has access.
No, with Aurora you can access. I remember that they launched something about 2 years ago. It's API.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's what the data API is.
It's so locked. I guess Aurora is like super locked down unless you enable this stuff.
Which is a good, default security stance of, yeah, good to not have this database like publicly accessible by default. So I think it, made some good decisions there. But then, yeah, for the like arbitrary ingress into the database, it gets a little trickier.
I mean, from start to finish, we did the thing. It totally did it.
It totally did it.
There's some paths that it went down where the IAC one, skills wise, it kind of chose the right thing from the beginning, but we have a working thing. There's probably missing requirements, right? Like the front end, secure TLS stuff. But
Right.
I think we did it. I think it's like It's good.
it's pretty amazing that like it'll just figure it out. Obviously, with more knowledge, more skills, it's going to do a better job. But we just tried to do it in the most simplest form possible, and it did it, which is pretty awesome. I do want to see if it can actually get this database query. I think it's still running.
I
Let's see.
can read you what the conf I just created in RDS.
It's working.
The RDS data API is an HTTP SQLite endpoint. So it's trying to open something on the database so that it can like pull, query the table. It's like, I must.
Yeah,
And so it
yeah.
has the data
I told it to find a way, so
Yeah.
it will. Yeah, and I think we'll do some research on that onboarding with AWS skill and see, because it was there for me this morning and
I
it
think
wasn't.
that's a good use case,
now,
just have
so-
like MVP prompt deploy to AWS even with the toolkit, and it should like do same defaults by IDC.
Exactly.
Or at least
Yeah.
tell you like, hey, we can make you choose your path. And we recommend this path.
Yeah.
Going down this path is bad, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
So, that's a good catch.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out if she knows.
Yeah, and Sean, I think that the onboarding skill is supposed to do exactly that,
Yeah, it's like tells
but
you, like,
for
how
some
to
reason it didn't get
Well,
pulled
fine,
into
maybe we
context.
can
So.
partner on that and figure out what
Yep.
changed, where it went.
It's always good to like try these things so that
That's the best way to
we
get an understanding of something that's changed. Like you use it, you do the thing. This is like where, I mean, this is like the new evolution of like, I wonder if there's AI integration
I was,
where you're doing this stuff and seeing if it changes over time. Because like,
Yeah.
that should just do what the expectation.
we should like automate the
In the
evals
IC.
around that.
Yeah, it's like your Kiro, like you have it in a CI. It's just like continuously doing this.
Yeah.
It's like every hour or something to see if there's.
Yeah, and documentation is always changing, and
Yeah.
models are changing, and
Yep. Good demo, man. Appreciate it.
yeah. Well, I'll report back if it does figure out the database query. I think it's still setting up that data API, whatever that was, and so it's off churning, trying to get what it needs set up, and hopefully it figures out a way. It should, right? Okay, well that's it. That was my fun little experiment, and hopefully the live stream was interesting, and I'll stop sharing. Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining me.
How often do you do those things? The live streams?